Hi, this is my first YouTube video with a voiceover, so, you're just gonna have to listen to my insane ramblings. Uh, you're essentially here so I don't look as insane while I'm talking about this shit. Because, I only have a few more strikes left before they take me to the fucking funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, okay? So, you're just gonna have to deal with it. Just pretend I'm tying you to a fucking chair and I'm like, have a conspiracy board in front of me or some shit. Because that's exactly the vibe I'm going for here. I mostly wanted to talk about this really dumb, self-indulgent thing I've been thinking about for, like, a while now. It's this fanfiction AU thingy for a fucking 50's comic from Belgium that is directly linked to the Smurfs. Yeah, we're going there. Cringe culture is dead. We ball now, motherfuckers. We embraced our fucking cringe, okay? We are free, motherfuckers. Ooh, ooh. I want to kill myself after saying that, not gonna lie. Anyway, so before the Smurfs took off in the US, and I guess also in Belgium, Pio had this comic called Johan and Peewit. It was essentially about a knight and his little dwarf friend going on adventures and, like, helping people in this medieval setting. The Smurfs were actually side characters in this comic, but for some fucking reason, they got so popular that they overshadowed Johan and Peewit. I still don't really know why a bunch of tiny blue socialists were deemed more entertaining than, like, a fucking knight punching people, but I don't know. Boomers and Gen Alphas or whatever the fuck are a mystery to me. They were also in the 80's cartoon by Hanna-Barbera. I think they were supposed to be like a whole separate series, but it ended up just getting bunched in with the Smurfs anyway. And I guess it didn't do very well because they were in there for like one season. Peewit showed up for a couple of more episodes and then the fuckers were just gone forever, never acknowledged again. I feel like some of that was Hanna-Barbera's fault. Like, don't get me wrong, we stand Hanna-Barbera in this house, but, like, they did fuck up a lot of the plot lines in the comics. I haven't been able to read all of them, mind you. This is important for later. A lot of them are in French and are just not translated. But the ones I was able to read, like, they either just straight up ignored or just took chunks of the episode out. It was really weird. The 80's were a fucking weird time. But that's essentially how I got introduced to these fuckers in the first place. It was through the cartoon. So back in middle school, I got really into them for the same reason that literally every fucking person in this goddamn fandom got into him. I thought Johan was hot. Like, if you don't believe me, 99% of the people, except for like 2 dudes in here, all got into him because they found that motherfucker hot. So, yeah, it's no different from me. I am the same. I still find that motherfucker hot. He has permanently brain rotted me. I am just neurally affected by this man. I'll never be the same again. Please send help. So after accepting that I am just permanently cringe, I decided it would be kind of fun to take one of my existing OCs and plop her into this potential universe to see how she would work. And one thing kind of led to another, and so now I have this whole fucking AU all plotted out in my head. And you have to deal with the consequences of that. So buckle up, motherfucker, here we go. So starting off, my idea for this fan rewrite extension thing is that necromancers exist in this version. Really, the comic implies that there are ogres who eat children and has characters nearly burnt at the stake in the same fucking comic. So it definitely implies that the world in the comic can be incredibly dark if it wanted to be. It just chooses not to acknowledge it. So in my version, we're acknowledging that shit. I mean, necromancy, again, because of the reasons previously stated, I don't think sticks out that much. You'll see why, or at least if I choose to go into more detail, you'll see why the implications of it being darker is there. Like, just a hint, the burning out the stake shit is gonna come back up. There you go, there's my spoiler. So, first and foremost, an important thing to know about necromancy in this universe is that it is incredibly taboo. Magic use in the comic is implied to be illegal, but necromancy is on a whole nother level of, like, off limits, to where I imagine even other, like, magic users look down upon and shame it for being used. One of the reasons for that is, in this universe, to obtain necromancy as a power, you have to sell your soul to a demon. There is no other way to get it. You cannot naturally learn it. A demon has to be summoned and a soul has to be sold for that to be obtained. It also requires a great tragedy to get the demon to be willing to give you this power. So some type of mass death or famine has to trigger the demon coming to you for them to be willing to give a mortal such great power. This obviously causes problems for even magic users, because it could easily lead to somebody purposely mass killing a group of people just so they can get these powers. You can kind of see where that would, be frowned upon. Another reason, which is kind of the biggest reason, is that for you to revive something, whether it be an animal or a human, another life has to be taken. My idea for how necromancy works in this universe is directly inspired by, like, Full Metal Alchemist. Mostly my loose memory of the equivalent exchange idea, as well as the Philosopher's Stone. Though, to be honest, I have not watched that in, like, a very long fucking time, so a lot of my ideas might be wrong. It's a very loose inspiration, I suppose. I guess, depending on how accurate my memory is. Which is usually shit, so, So my idea for how necromancy works in this universe is that for you to reanimate something, you have to take something else's life force away. Life force is a type of magic that runs through every living creature. That necromancers specifically can harvest and distribute between corpses in order to reanimate them. I say reanimate rather than revive, because while theoretically possible, in order to fully revive a human being, you would have to sacrifice hundreds, if not thousands, if not more, in order for a person to come back. Like, completely and utterly come back fully human again. Without such a heavy sacrifice, really you just get a rotting puppet that will do your bidding for you, but has no real greater intelligence. Animals are a bit different in that regard. Animals do come back fully. However, they're not really considered to be a good source of, like, soldiers or minions, due to the fact that it takes a lot to revive them, and you have to mind control them in order for them to obey you. So you're better off just using the human corpses instead. Another issue with it is that life force is a finite resource. It doesn't regenerate after a person is dead. So once you sacrifice something, you have to split it up evenly or carefully to make sure that your corpses can function the way you need them to. The more life force a corpse has, the more quote-unquote intelligent they are. They have finer motor skills, they can do more complex tasks, they're a lot smarter technically, or at least they obey a lot easier. While the less life force they have, the less you can really do with them. So if they only have a little bit, they might be able to attack for you and do very, like, menial, basic things, but other than that, they're not going to really be able to do, like, complicated tasks, like fighting with a weapon or sneaking, none of that. They're mostly just cannon fodder or things to overwhelm your opponent. You're not going to get much more out of them than that. A human life is considered to be the most valuable sacrifice. It simply gives much more life force than, let's say, an animal. So most necromancers do opt to kill humans while sacrificing. But even then, you still have to play resource management. So let's say you had, like, 100 or something soldiers. I'm still not exactly clear on the maths. I'm an artist. I fucking suck at math. So, So we'll use 100 for now as, like, a general guesstimate. Those soldiers are going to be pretty fucking stupid if you only use one human. You're just not going to be able to have really smart soldiers with that little of life force. However, you could take the life force from soldiers that you aren't actively using and put it into another corpse, so that corpse can be temporarily smarter and serve the purpose that it needs to. So you can mix and match a little bit here. Even still, though, if you want more life force, you're going to have to kill more humans. That's just how it works. This is a weakness for almost all of the necromancers, except one. Sky is known as the Blood Necromancer, her power being that she can use her own blood as a sacrifice, thus using her own life force to bring back the dead. Her life force is 10 times more potent than the average person. This also allows her to heal herself and others if she needs to. Now, she might sound overpowered as hell, but I tell you, she does have limits. First off, she cannot revive a human completely. Not without dying herself, anyway. Foreshadowing, you dumb fuck. Anyway. Her healing power can also be used against her. So, for example, if you were to, stab her, you two, please don't kill me, and you leave the sword inside of her, she's just kind of fucked unless she can get that sword out. She'll just sit there bleeding and re-healing until, she either loses too much blood or just, dies from exhaustion. So that's one way you can beat her. Also, if you were to hit her really hard through bludgeoning of some sort, she's also just fucked. She's not, getting back up. Her healing powers cannot heal her that well if it's, no direct blood is actually shed. Again, going back to the blood loss, that is her biggest weakness. Humans can lose a fair bit of blood, from my understanding, but again, if she loses too much, she's gonna die. She's gonna get either really sick and fatigued, or she's just gonna fucking, bleh, and that's it. Another great weakness for her is that if the other necromancers can somehow figure out how to use her blood, she becomes a great tool and thus a great target for them, essentially using her as a human fuel tank for whatever their needs are. Thank goodness there's no necromancer who can actually do that. Oh, shit. This is where the main plot comes in, and the main reason and catalyst for her meeting and joining forces with Johann and Peewit from the beginning. The other necromancers, of which there is at least 5, join forces and try to take over the kingdom, wanting to use Sky as their, tool in order to do this. Sky, rightfully not trusting the other necromancers and obviously not wanting to be used as some sort of blood cow, decides to begrudgingly go to the king and ask for help in order to team up with him in hopes that maybe, just maybe, they will be able to avoid this threat. Sky does this instead of going at it alone because while she may be able to handle one necromancer in a 1v1, she's fully aware that they would not play fair like that. And altogether, especially with the Plague Necromancer, who we will get into shortly, she's severely outnumbered and outmatched. While she may not want to, working with the king is her best and honestly only option here. The Plague Necromancer is one of the strongest, if not the strongest necromancer out there, even next to Sky. His power is unique because he doesn't technically need a sacrifice as well, though in a much different way. His undead can infect and kill the living, automatically making their corpses under his control by using the person's own life force to fuel it. This means his undead are not only dangerous for their bite, but they're also very versatile due to the life force not needing to be spread out amongst many. Having Sky would mean the main weakness he has, i.e. needing a living host, moot. He can essentially add both the living and the dead to his army, making him damn near invincible and his army impossibly large. So he's a pretty serious threat to both Sky and the kingdom. To further go into the alliance, I do want to make it clear that it is begrudging, honestly, on both sides. The kingdom, and by and large, Johann and Peewit especially, don't really like her or want her around initially. She's a necromancer, the worst kind of magic user, which in most of the kingdom, being any type of magic user is really bad enough. Not only is she a magic user, but Sky was actually a mercenary and assassin for hire before she worked with the kingdom. Her clients were far from ethical or good people, and Sky didn't really care about the consequences as long as she made money. This obviously causes a lot of conflict for her as well, especially with Johan, who is a knight. Sky has probably killed knights before, and done it without really thinking about it. She has also probably helped the exact type of people he has fought against in the past before, making their relationship even more contentious, and especially hard considering he's the knight who's assigned to protect her if anything goes wrong. To add even more insult to injury, Sky is believed to have burned down a village 10 years ago, the only real thing that defends her from these claims being her age. She is everything Johan has tried to fight against, and now he's pretty much stuck taking care of her. It doesn't help that Sky is purposely kind of an asshole to him. She's rude, sarcastic, stubborn, selfish, childish, and doesn't really seem to respect or care about the kingdom, or anyone else for that matter. She refuses to listen to the rules even when they're there to not only protect her, but everyone else. He's incredibly frustrated and annoyed to be around her all the time. He feels like he's keeping a bratty toddler in line that honestly deserves to be drop-kicked by now. Did I mention he's actually Sky's love interest? Yeah, I should probably have said that. It's definitely enemies to lovers, if you can't tell already. Don't worry, though. The feeling is definitely fucking mutual. Sky hates it at the castle. She misses her forest that she lives in, the animals there, many she revived and has a very close bond with. Plus, she's a bit of a
misanthrope.
Yeah, that fucking word. She fucking hates people, alright? She just, get them out of here. She fucking hates them, can't stand them, doesn't want anything to do with them, and she honestly has a good reason to. The castle pretty much represents everything she hates about humanity. It's judgmental, it's stupid rules, it's blatant disregard for anyone and anything that you view as lesser and different, the confusing social dynamics, everything. It just proves to her that she is and always will be an outsider to them, a monster that only exists to be hated and scorned at, and maybe even used when it's convenient. Really hates Johan because he is an extension of the castle, and by also an extension with the issues she has with humanity. He feels like an overbearing reminder that she is now stuck here. He's constantly following and suffocating her. Not only that, but he's the king's pet and seemingly has a stick shoved so far up his own ass that she can see it in his fucking throat. She sees him as self-righteous, spoiled, and thinks he knows everything despite only ever really living in the castle with a silver spoon in his mouth. He has no idea how it actually is to survive out there. He pretends to be virtuous, but seemingly ignores all of the horrible things that the kingdom lets happen, seeking aid from magic users yet never doing anything to prevent them from being killed, despite having the king's ear. He's also annoyingly attractive, which pisses her off even more. Like, no one that fucking annoying needs to be that fucking attractive. Like, get the fuck out of here. Now, if you paid enough attention or also are like one of the 10 people in the fandom, which, hello, hi, I probably know who you are. I'm in your walls. You probably would have noticed that I ignored Peewit in the previous segment. But it's not because he isn't important. Actually, he's actually key to Sky warming up to the castle and the reason why she and Johan stop trying to strangle each other every 2 seconds. To everyone who doesn't know, which is probably fucking most of you, Peewit is a dwarf jester who follows Johan around after the knight helped him prove his innocence when he was accused of kidnapping a princess. His age is actually a bit confusing, but I personally think he's an adult in the comics while a kid in the show. And since this is supposed to be the comics universe, which only has some elements from the show, Peewit is an adult here. Suck it. He's a bit older than both Sky and Johan, who are around the same age. It's said that before he found Johan, Peewit tried to go around the countryside to look for work, but was often chased off because of his height. It wasn't until he accidentally scared somebody in Boulder Woods that he decided to pretend to be a goblin in order to steal food for survival. This is important because it actually shares a lot of similarities with Sky's backstory. It's the reason why he becomes the first and for a while only human she tolerates at the castle. Funny enough, I actually would think he would be quite terrified of her, until both try to steal food from the kitchen at the same time, deciding to work together to more efficiently get the food. After claiming their target, Peewit would probably assume that she was just going to scare him off and take it all, only to find out she was willing to split it with him, even giving a portion of her share to the animals that helped. This goes a long way for the two to actually start talking and bond. He quickly realizes she isn't mean, she's just scared. She acts tough and unbothered, but he can tell that the looks the Katsugo's give her stings a lot more than she will let herself admit. He gets her to open up about becoming the blood necromancer, learning that she was starving and homeless and even ended up in a place called a gutter. A place where only the most desperate and desolate go, where they have literally no other option. It's ruled by villains and overall criminals, and it's just an overall very shitty place to live. I might expand on it later. Fun fact, actually, one of the drawings that you see behind this voiceover is a drawing of the gutter. I want to explore it more in visual form, but that will be at a later time. I'm lazy. Peewit only knows about this place because he was genuinely afraid of having to go there before Johan found him. And honestly couldn't say that if he was in Skaya's place, he wouldn't have done the exact same thing she did in order to survive. He knows he would have at least considered it if he had any type of power like hers. This is part of the reason why Peewit works so well as a bridge between Johan and Sky. Despite their disdain for each other, they do genuinely like and care about Peewit. And because of that, he ends up bringing out the best traits in both of them, allowing each other to see that they're not as bad as they originally thought. Johan learns to understand Sky and realizes she's a lot more complicated than he originally thought, while Sky realizes Johan truly does want to do the right things and believe what he says. Plus, the two have a lot more in common than they are probably willing to admit. Alright, I think I've yapped enough. This fucking recording is like about 20 minutes long. If not more so when I piece it to fucking together, because I'm just really bad at recording shit, guys. I might yap some more at a later date. I kind of want to explore the other necromancers and their powers, go more into Sky's backstory and her animals. Again, I do want to explore the gutter more. I want to explore Sky's relationship with the different castle goers and all of that good stuff. I'm not sure how spoilery I want this to be yet, because I'm not really sure if I'll ever make a comic or something with it. So I guess I'll figure that out at a later date. But that's enough for now. I'll shut up. Bye.